Hello everyone and welcome into a brand new Civilization 6 tutorial. Today we are going to take a look at great works. It is one of the things I get asked most about, whether it's on YouTube or it's on Twitch. Someone usually pops in to say something like, hey, I'm new to Civ, I have no idea how great works work. Right, I'm trying my best. They're very confusing. I'm not sure what's going on. Can you help me out for a second? So this video is going to be a base level tutorial on everything you need to know about great works to improve your Civilization game. If you find this tutorial helpful, feel free to click the like button. It really helps this tutorial get out to more people. Additionally, it makes me feel good. You can also hit that subscribe button if you would like more videos like this in the future to pop up in your feed. Let's hop in. For this tutorial, we are using a culture game that I played as Pericles just yesterday on our Twitch stream. We played a culture game against 11 Eleanors, and that gave us a lot of great works to do this tutorial with, which is awesome. If you would like to know how great works work, the first thing you're going to need to do is click on this button right in the top left that says Great Works, and this will be your hub. This will be your information screen that tells you everything you need to know about great works. The first thing you're going to notice is all of these individual boxes, all right? These are very important, so let's take a look at a couple of them. The lighting is really nice in the middle, so let's go right here. So right here, where my cursor is right now, we have an old god obelisk. So the first bit of text at the top tells you what building is this. We have an old god obelisk here, we have a bank here, we have a broadcast center here, all right? The thing that's underneath it, the next bit of text, the smaller bit, tells you what city it's in. Now, I've renamed the cities to make this tutorial a little bit easier to digest. So you have the old god obelisk, and that is in city number 1. Right? And the reason why that's important is because you can also have an old god obelisk in 11th Eleanor. You can have another old god obelisk in La Plura Santa York. Right? So you're going to need to know which city your old god obelisk is in. In this case, it is city number 1. Below that, it'll tell you what great work you currently have in that spot. We'll take a look at those in a second. And underneath that, it'll tell you what yields you are getting from that great work. So right now we have an old god obelisk in city number 1 with a painting in it. And that painting is giving us 3 culture and 4 tourism. The next thing you can look at in these little boxes is what is actually in there. So if you hover over the painting, right, if you hover over whichever great work is in whichever spot, it'll give you information on that great work that you are going to need to make educated decisions moving forward. So let's hover over this painting, all right? This painting is entitled Annunciation. It is a religious painting, so we have the title and the type of great work. It was created by Andrei Rublev, all right? We have the artist, Andrei Rublev. It was created in 450 AD. And it provides 3 culture and 2 tourism per turn. Because I have a card in, I have a policy card in that gives us extra tourism for great works of art. It is providing me 4 tourism total, even though it says 2 right here. So the painting is giving me 2 tourism. The extra policy card I have in is giving me 4, right? And you can do that anywhere. So in this amphitheater in city number 3, we have this great work of writing, Novelas Ejemplares. Exemplary Novels is a great work of writing created by Miguel de Cervantes in 640 AD. Sorry. And it's giving us 2 tourism and 2 culture. If you go to a place that is empty, let's go here. This broadcast center, can we make that centered? There it is. This broadcast center in Floki's Flavor Favela, right? It is empty right now. There's nothing in it. It's not giving me any yields. And it just has a blank spot. If you hover over the blank spot, it'll tell you what you can put in there, right? So you can put a great work of music in this broadcast center. The reason why that's important, I mean, it's pretty obvious with the logo, is because if you go to, let's say, an old god obelisk, let's move this great work of music over to this great work of music spot. And then we go to an old god obelisk that's empty and you hover over it. You can put a sculpture, a portrait, a landscape, a religious painting, a great work of writing, a great work of music, and a relic in there. Right? And so moving the great work of music to just a great work of music spot might be more beneficial because it gives us more opportunities to fill in this spot here. We're going to get to the mechanics of moving things around in a minute, but it is good to know which empty spaces can hold which things. Right? If I try and work a great work of writing into here, it's not going to let me because it's a great work of music slot. But if I try and move a great work of writing into here, it will let me because it can hold a great work of writing, because it says that when we hover over. The last thing this screen tells you right now that you should be aware of is your total yields from every little box that's in here. So these are all the places throughout all of your cities that have great work slots, and all of the great works that you have here, if you add all of this up, it equals 260 culture, 28 faith, and 547 tourism. So that's a nice, easy way to see all of your yields without actually having to add all of this up. This top right corner tells you everything you need to know. We have 101 spaces with 82 great works in them, and these are the yields we are getting. The next thing we're going to talk about is how do you actually acquire these great works? We have 82 great works. How did I actually get them? Well, if you go to your great person screen here, these great people, from great writers, great artists, and great musicians on the right side here, are going to give you most of your great works in the game. If you would like a tutorial about how these guys work, that is a separate great person tutorial we have done. But for right now, your great writers will give you great works of writing, and it lets you know ahead of time kind of who the author is and what pieces of writing you'll be getting. All right, same with the great artist, right? If you have this great artist, it will give you 3 paintings. It tells you the painting's name, and it tells you that they are portraits. So you know they're not religious paintings or landscapes or anything. You know they're portraits because it tells you right here. And then this great musician is going to give us the New World Symphony, great work of music. It tells you everything you need to know. But this is how you're going to get most of your great works. As you can see here, we also have a couple things that you cannot get via great people as easily. We have some relics here. This is a relic of the sightless worm. We acquired these relics through cultists. Cultists are units that you get with the Void Singer secret society, and once you use all of your cultist charges, we won't get too in-depth, they give you the relic. So that is how I've acquired all of those relics. So I did not acquire them through great people, I acquired them through these cultist units here. You can also see on this screen that we have artifacts. This is a classical artifact. This is an industrial artifact. Still giving us all the information, but artifacts are not acquired by great people. To get an artifact, you have to have an archaeological museum in the city. So if we go to Le Plus Récent de York, all right, you will have, if you go to your Acropolis here, or your theater square, it says archaeological museum. It holds artifacts. If you choose art museum, you will not have a spot to put these artifacts. So you have to choose the archaeological museum. Once you have an archaeological museum, it gives you the opportunity to build an archaeologist. Once you have your archaeologists, you can send them out into the world to find artifacts and or shipwrecks. Make sure you actually research these first. If you have not researched antiquity sites for your artifacts or shipwrecks for your artifacts from the sea, you will not be able to get them. So if you are playing a game and these don't appear, if you search for artifacts and nothing is appearing on the screen, that probably means that you haven't researched it yet. So you should make sure you do that. All right, but once you've researched it, you are going to send your archaeologists out to these antiquity sites, and they will collect great works for you. So you can see we have some antiquity sites and shipwrecks. This is a shipwreck. These antiquity sites were all built on top of before they were revealed. But you can see from earlier that this is what they look like if something is not on top of them. The last way to acquire great works that you might want to take a look at, this gets more important as you get into theming, which we'll talk about in just a minute, is you can actually trade for them. So if I click on this Eleanor here, and I go to make a deal, I can see she has a whole bunch of great works. So let's say I want a monk. The portrait is called a monk. It is a portrait. It tells you the artist, gives you all the same information if you hover over it. All right. What would it take for a monk? 14 gold for 30 turns. I can accept the deal. I will give her the gold. She will give me the painting. So that's another way to acquire great works. All right, now that we have our great works, we have acquired our great works. How have we done that? Doesn't really matter, but we have them here. They are in our civilization. They are part of our empire. How cultured are we? We're going to talk about moving them around now. A lot of people don't know you can move your great works around. You can move great works by just clicking them, left click, and dragging them around. We're going to start with great works of writing and great works of music because there is no theming bonuses for them. All right, so as you can see, I can move my great works around between any city that just has a great work slot that holds music. So you just click and you drag. I can move one from Mycenae to the broadcast center here. I can move this one up, and you can just keep moving them around, and the numbers never change. I'm getting 4 and 12 4 culture and 12 tourism, no matter what I do. So there's no theming bonus here. All right, so great works of art, there's a few things you need to know. The first thing you need to know is if you acquire a great work of art from a great artist and you try to move it, it will not let you move a great work of art until 10 turns have passed since you acquired it. This does not apply if you trade them. If you trade for somebody's great work, you can move it right away. But if you use your own great artist to get it, which you will most likely be doing, you cannot move it for 10 turns. So if you try and move this artwork here, and it doesn't let you, you just have to wait. It'll say you must wait 2 turns or 4 turns or 6 turns. You have to wait till that timer ticks down from 10, and then you can move your great works of art. Now, you want to move your great works of art in a way that themes them. All right, so theming is a way for great works of art and for artifacts here. Where's an artifact that we've themed? Here we go, an archaeological museum. You can move your artifacts around and your great works of art around to theme them. If you theme them, it says here, art museum is now themed, plus 100% culture and tourism, right? So if I move this great work of art out of here, I get a much lower bonus, right? So what I should be getting is if I add this, if I had 3 to 6, that's 9. And I had 4 to 8, that's 12. So it should be 9 and 12. But if it's themed, it's 18 and 18. That is a really big difference in culture and tourism just for paying attention to theming. Now, if you want to theme your great works of art, we'll talk about artifacts in a minute, your great works of art need to be the same type. So you can usually tell because they all look the same. To start, these are all landscapes. You can just tell because they look like landscapes. But you can see this is a landscape, this is a landscape, and this is a landscape. Right, so that's the first part. They all need to be the same type, all right? And they need to be by different artists, right? So here you have Vincent van Gogh, Katsushika Hokusai, and Zhang Xinyop, right? So 3 different artists, all landscape equals a themed theater square, or themed art museum. Over in this art museum, we have 3 religious paintings, so they all look the same, right? But if you go here, it says religious, 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 and they are 3 different artists. We have El Greco, Titian, and Bosch, right? When you first get a great artist, they will be all by the same artist, because it's one great artist who's giving you 3 paintings. So you're going to either need 3 different great artists, or you're going to need to buy and trade your great works around, right? So if I have 3 religious paintings, and they're all from the same person, maybe I can trade one of them to get a religious painting from someone else that's by a different artist, right? And that's how you can theme. So you can wait for your own great artist to get more and more paintings to move around, but theming is something that typically doesn't happen right away. All right, and you can also trade to theme is a really important mechanic that you should try and do if you feel comfortable giving it a shot. Now, the last thing we need to talk about with great works of art is how it decides which painting it's going to theme based off of. So here we have 1 religious painting and 2 portraits. So you might be thinking to yourself, man, he has 2 portraits, and this portrait's by Titian, and this portrait's by Kaufman. So you have 2 portraits, right, by 2 different people. Why am I not getting the 2 theming bonus, right? And the reason for that is each little square bases it off the farthest left painting. So right now it's looking for religious paintings to theme, right? If I want to get my 2 bonus, I just have to move one of these paintings to the left slot, and now I'm getting my 2 out of 3 bonus, right? So the only difference in here between a 1 bonus, which is nothing, and a 2 bonus is whether or not the religious painting or the portrait is in the first slot, right? So be careful, because you could have theming bonuses sitting there in your art museums that you're not getting because your paintings are in the wrong order. So if I put the portrait here, it looks for a second portrait. Ding, 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 it found a second portrait. 2 out of 3. If I move this back, it looks for a religious painting. It doesn't find one, so it doesn't give us the bonus. I hope that makes sense for you guys on how theming great works of art, well, works. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to theme artifacts, all right? So first, let's talk about moving artifacts. As you can see, just like anything else, if I have an archaeological museum and it's full of artifacts, I can move them around. Now, you can only move artifacts. This is different than great works of art. Great works of art, you have to wait 10 turns unless you trade for them, right? Archaeological museums, you don't have to wait any turns, but you can only trade to and from full archaeological museums. So if you are using your archaeologist, which collects 3 artifacts, and there's only 2 in here because you haven't collected the 3rd one yet, it will not let you move the 2. You can only move to and from full archaeological museums. So as you can see, if I pull this ancient artifact here, right, and I move it over to this archaeological museum, these swap. This one stays full. This one stays full over here, but none of them are left without 3. If I try and move this this artifact right here from this archaeological museum to this archaeological museum, it won't let me. Even though this holds an artifact, I can't drop it there because that would leave this archaeological museum right here with 2 artifacts, and it always needs to have 3. The only time you can have less than 3 is if you are still collecting them and haven't collected the 2nd or 3rd one yet. Now, to theme your artifacts, it's a little bit different than great works, or great works of art, but it follows the same kind of principles. The first thing you want to do is hover over. You need to have 3 artifacts from the same era. So here we have industrial era, industrial era, and industrial era. And they need to be from 3 different people. So instead of the same type of painting, it's an artifact from the same era. Right? So industrial, industrial, industrial. We have Eleanor of Aquitaine. We have Pericles, so that's 2. And then we have Eleanor of Aquitaine again. The reason why this is working is because they're actually different Eleanors. There's 11 Eleanors in this game, so it took me a while to move them around, right? But this one might be Industrial Eleanor, Industrial Pericles, Industrial Cleopatra. And that would get the job done for you. So in this archaeological museum down here in Le Pleuret Saint-Deorc, all right, you have your industrial Pericles, your industrial barbarians, and then a medieval Eleanor. So even though it's by a different person, right, it's by Eleanor, and we have Pericles and barbarians, right? Because it's medieval and not industrial, it doesn't help the theme. So this here, it's industrial, so it's looking for another industrial. Bam, it found one. It's by a different person. Fantastic, you're getting your 2 out of 3 boost. If you move this medieval to the first slot, same with great works of art, it's looking for another medieval era. It says this medieval artifact is establishing the theme for this museum, and so it's looking for more medievals. It doesn't find any, 1 bonus. Pull that back, it's looking for industrials, it finds one, boom, 2 bonus. The last thing I want to talk about in this tutorial is actually moving your great people around the map to get your great works as quickly as possible. So here I have a great musician. If you weren't aware, if you put a great person in a city center, you can click this button here, transfer to another city, and you can just pick another city, right? So if I want to pick Pergamon, it'll just transfer. You just left click. I'm not going to do it because I want to show you something else as well. But it can just transfer to Pergamon, and then you can use it on any of these tiles without having to walk. How many turns would that be? That would be, right, 3 or 4 turns to walk all the way over there. You can just teleport there from one city center to another city center, if that makes sense. The other thing you can do to save time, right? Let's say I have this great musician. It's going to take me 3 turns to get to this Bolshoi Theater where I can put this great work of music. What I can do is actually kind of trick this a little bit. So let's head to city number 2. So here we have the old God Obelisk in city number 2. If I go right now to this great musician, you can see that if I try and use it, it doesn't work. Must occupy a district with a free slot, right? There's an old God Obelisk here that I know can hold this great work of music. So what I can do, head to the old God Obelisk in city number 2, move this great work of writing somewhere else, because I can move it anywhere, right? As long as there's a spot for it, I can move it to a different city. And now if I click on this great work of music, I can use it again, right? Because I've opened up the spot in city number 2. And there we have Lily Okalani's Prayer. So that's a good way to move your great works around, not just to theme them, but to move them around so you can not have to move your great people as far to get to where they need to go so you can actually acquire. Now if I go to this great works screen and I go to city number 2 and I go to the old God Obelisk, there's my great work of music that I just got. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, leave a like rating and leave a comment. Was this tutorial helpful? Is there something you'd like to be in the next one? What should the next tutorial be? Is there something else I should explain about this tutorial in another video? Let me know all that in the comments below. Also, hit that subscribe button if you would like more Civ tutorials and more Civilization Let's Play videos to hop into your feed. You can also check us out live on twitch.tv/VanBradley, where we stream Civ at least 3 or 4 times a week in the evenings. I'd love to see you around there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.